Welcome back to the Division 2. I've had a lot of requests for people to see my build. I've had people literally firing questions left, right and centre, and it's amazing to be a part of it. I love trying to help you guys out. So I'm going to show you the build that I currently run. And with this build, I am able to clear heroics solo or in group play in around 25 to 30 minutes. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that there's a lot of different things you need to focus on. You would start with your core attributes, then go to attributes and talents. You also need to pay attention to the brand sets, or if you're running gear sets, how many pieces you're running. It goes in depth quite a bit. And what I'm going to do is try and explain it to the best of my ability. We'll start with the build and then we'll look at the stats so that you get a better understanding. And I do understand that this is not fully optimized, but it is still an incredible build. So my primary is the Glory Daze. I managed to get my hands on it because it's got perfect near-sighted. It's got pretty bad rolls. I was just running the military P416 until Con found this and dropped it for me. And I have to give Con a shout out. If he didn't tell me to try this build, it's a crit chance, crit damage build. If he never told me, I wouldn't have ever in a million years tried building around crit chance and crit damage. And this build is insane. So the Glory Daze, 96.4k base damage. It's got a 750 RPM, 50 round mag. I've god rolled the assault rifle damage onto it. It's got 7% health damage, 6% damage to targets out of cover. The talent on it is perfect near-sighted, so I receive 100% stability at the cost of 35% optimal range, and that 100% stability basically makes the gun a laser. Even if you can get the normal near-sighted, it's 80% stability, your guns are going to be incredibly stable. Accuracy, on the other hand, isn't the best, so the closer the range of the target, the better, but you can still hit weak points from 25 meters plus. The mods I run on this weapon are all based on crit chance. So the mini reflex sight gives you 5% crit chance. I've got the sturdy mag for the extra 20 rounds, that's why it's a 50 round mag. Then I've got the laser pointer for another 5% crit chance, and I've also got the muzzle brake for 5% crit chance. You can change some things around. You can go for crit damage, you could go for optimal range to try and build that back up. But the most important thing is crit chance because it increases your chances of landing critical hits. With the secondary, I'm running the Pestilence. I didn't get the best of rolls and you can't recalibrate exotics, but this thing is still an absolute beast. Hit supplier debuff dealing 100% weapon damage over 10 seconds and it stacks up to 50 times. Whenever an enemy dies with the debuff, all stacks are transferred to a nearby enemy within 25 meters. And when you're playing in a group, you kind of have to communicate because the stacks don't work together. And if it's once you've applied stacks, if you don't kill that enemy, it won't transfer to the next. So you need to kind of call out which enemies you're shooting. But the Pestilence is incredible. I've covered that in another video, which is on the channel. And then starting with the gear, the pistol is completely irrelevant. I've never even had a look at it because they removed the talents like stop, drop and roll. So I've got fast hands. So into the mask. Before we get into the actual stats and stuff, I'm going to go through the brand sets. So I've got 2-piece Fenris on the build for assault rifle damage and reload speed. I've got Seska for 10% crit chance. I've got the exotic chest piece on this build, which gives you god rolled armor. So there's one piece in here for survivability, although you don't need it. The only reason I'm running it is because of the talent, ablative nanoplating. Whenever yours or your allies' armor breaks, they gain 80% of your total armor as bonus for 10 seconds. It's such a helpful talent, but if you don't play in a group and you're running solo, you could get extra DPS out of this build by just running a standard chest and getting unbreakable, because not only, unbreakable only works for you, ablative nanoplating works for the group. So if you are solo, the better thing about unbreakable is the fact that it's 95% of your armor, not 80, but the cooldown isn't 45 seconds, it's 60. On the gloves, we have Grupo Sombra for 15% crit damage. On the holster is Overlord Armaments. Because I run LMG, if I could get Petrov, that's obviously going to help the build. But I got some decent rolls on this, and I've not had any luck. I've not been farming for Petrov, so to speak. And then the knee pads finish off the Fenris group for the 2-piece, so that we get that reload speed. And you can go with Providence Defense because it gives you headshot damage, crit chance and crit damage, but these are the parts that I've gone with. This is my personal choice of things to run. I might in the future make a build around Providence Defense, but for now this build absolutely shreds. So jumping into the attributes, the core attribute of every single piece, obviously besides the exotic, is weapon damage, and it's all god rolled up to 15%. Minus the knees. I still need to find a god roll for knee pads. But the other 4 pieces are on 15%, the knees are on 13.6. Then the other attributes on the mask, I have 14% weapon handling. I'm so glad that come in God rolled. I was running a mission with Con. I had this exact same mask, like the brand and the model, but it had hazard protection, and then I found this one, which dropped with God rolled weapon handling and the crit damage, so I just re-rolled weapon damage onto it. I think it had like 11% or something. So we have the 14% weapon handling, which is going to reduce your recoil, increase your accuracy and things like that. You've got crit damage of 10.8%, and then I've put a mod on it for 5.4% crit chance. For some reason, I'm not finding many mods. I don't think I've ever actually found one mod with the highest stat I can possibly have. I'm hoping and praying that when I do get the time to go and farm for mods for my gear, I can actually find some essentially God rolls. On the bag, I would like to replace this, but haven't found a part so far. It's got God rolled weapon damage. The attributes are 11% crit damage, and then the health, 15.8k. I would like to change that to crit chance. And then obviously if I could get a red mod roll instead of a blue, although the armor on kill can be helpful in terms of survivability, this has got vigilance, so it increases my total weapon damage by 25%, although taking damage disables the buff for 4 seconds. Then with the chest, God rolled armor has got explosive resistance, armor regen, and then I've modded it for armor on kill. On the gloves, we have headshot damage of 7.8%. If I could change that for crit chance, I would. And 11.6% critical hit damage. The only reason I choose crit chance and damage over headshot damage is because headshot damage you have to aim for the head, whereas crit chance, crit damage essentially, you can hit any part of the body and you're going to get crits. So you can go for headshot and crits, although if you're not an accurate player, like if you miss shots and stuff here and there, then I would definitely recommend going crits over headshot damage. Then on the holster, which I would love to be able to change from Overlord because I don't run a rifle anymore, I have 4.4% crit chance and 12.5% weapon handling. So again, if I could get rid of the weapon handling because I don't need it with perfect nearsighted and the Pestilence doesn't recoil too much, if I could replace that for critical hit damage, that would be insane for this build as well. And then on the knee pads, I need to find the God roll weapon damage so I can recalibrate that up to max, but then I've got 5.7% crit chance and 10% critical hit damage. So you can tell there is a lot in the build to do with like crit chance and crit damage. And I run the sharpshooter specialization so that I get the increased weapon handling, less recoil, and the perks that you get with that. And then if I do switch out to my classic M1A, that's my go-to rifle, then I've obviously got the bonus headshot damage for rifles, and it just, like, sharpshooter is just my personal preference. So that's the build. I run the Fixer drone because chem launchers don't seem to be that good anymore, and I've got the Revive Hive because I always go down. I like a second chance. My shade level is 51, which means I've got 11 stacks into weapon damage, I've got 10 into armor, 10 into, is that skill haste? I stupidly rolled 1 on ammo capacity, but then I've got 9 on stability. Stability is always more important than accuracy, because accuracy doesn't stray too far away from the center, like where your crosshair is aiming, whereas if you're not stable, then there's more recoil to control. So that's all like the nitty gritty parts. My armor's at 846,000, my health is at 287. Going into the stats so you can see the actual percentages, my P416, the Glory Daze, it's got 96,379. It's got a 40.5% critical hit chance, and you'll see on the right hand side it's capped at 60. I would say the ranges, to know if your build is good enough, I would say the ranges is anything up to 60, obviously, but anything over like 30-35% is going to be good for your crit chance, because if it would work out of literally 100%, because it's just a 40% chance with every bullet, I believe, but if it worked out of 100 bullets, 40 of them would land as a crit. I've got 83.4% critical hit damage. So if I hit a shot for 100,000 normally, but the crit chance kicked in, I got the crit, it would then hit for 183,000 instead of 100. Then with the extra headshot damage, I believe headshot damage comes in first. So if you're hitting for 100k, that would go up to 162. And then you crit that, you get 83% of that damage on top. So it's an incredibly strong build. I believe my headshot crits or crit headshots actually hit for around 330,000 or something like that. I've only got 7% health damage, no armor damage, and a lot of people have been talking about armor damage to obviously get rid of the armor on elites and stuff in the comments. But you can only really get it to roll on the weapons, so you can't get high percentages for it. although I believe armor damage would be better than health. And then we've obviously got 123% stability, which is a little bit overkill. We've got 75.8% all weapons damage bonus, and then 40 on the assault rifles. So it's 115.8%, and then we've got a little bit for the LMGs. Obviously, if I could get some Petrov in the build, then that would go up to 25% instead of 15%. And then the rest of it is just like defensive stats, which don't really matter too much because there's no protection from elites or anything. There's a tiny bit of armor regen, 35,000 armor on kill. And then obviously the chest, as soon as the armor gets broken, you get 80% of my 846k back anyway. So, quickly popping down into the shooting range, I'm going to show you the DPS I get. I'm going to put it onto Invulnerable Elite, and we're going to go through one mag. The numbers I was seeing yesterday with this Glory Daze, because even though it's badly rolled, it was actually hitting a little bit better than my military P416 was. So Invulnerable Elite, I was seeing 14 million yesterday. I'm going to set it to 5 meters for my target. And I'm going to go for headshots. I don't need to touch my right analog stick. It's so stable. So there was roughly 12.5. That's what I saw. And then always make sure you reload to get that one extra round in your mag. 12.3 that time. There we go, we hit for 13 million, and it's so inconsistent with these numbers. But a crit headshot is going to hit for 336,000 roughly. And that's why it's always best to get your crit chance as high as you possibly can and then focus more on the damage. Because the closer you can get to 60%, the better. Because more shots are going to hit for crits. And obviously crits apply all the crit damage to them, so you're going to get extra damage out of your shots. So what we're going to do now is go to the south of the White House, as always, take down that boss, and you can actually see the Glory Daze in action. I won't use the Pestilence because that does ticking damage too, but it's I'd say it's quite a versatile build because you can run ARs, you can run LMGs, and you can run rifles if you just switch between Overlord and Petrov. So you'll see at the top left, I mean it's a little bit hard to see, you can see it's on heroic difficulty. And my accuracy is never the best. That's a shotgunner, like a rusher, so they're gonna have automatically less health. But you can just see all the orange numbers are the crits. Come on, peek. Thank you. See, even with a 40% chance on crits, you can see that there are a lot of orange numbers in there. And that's the best part about this build, because you get so many crit hits. And they hit a lot heavier. And there's the chest piece in action. That drone is not getting a res. Just watch how quick his health disappears. Because medics are obviously quite tanky. Come on. Come on. My drone's just about to go. Can I don't have any spec ammo. I was just going to pop that purple bar. There we go, he's dead. Right, just me and you, big guy. Look at the health. See the state of that, how fast you just plow through it. And that was a look at my AR build. I will have other builds in the future, but obviously it takes hours and hours to get a highly optimized build. Not fully, but highly. And I'm going to leave the video there. I do apologize if it's a little bit longer, but I wanted to go into depth to help you guys out. Like, basically focus your core attributes and try and get the weapon damage if you're going for a DPS build. Obviously armor if you're going for survivability. But get your core attributes first. Try and get them all god rolled. Then focus on your other attributes. You can obviously do whatever you want to. It's all personal preference. But personally, I do like the crit chance and crit damage because you see bigger numbers. And it's so effective against all enemy types. You've seen that I've just cleared the named boss on heroic difficulty with no struggle at all. And as long as I'm tactical, I play it smart, I don't make stupid moves, I can do the same thing in a heroic mission. And then obviously the higher the difficulty you play, the higher your rewards, the bigger chance of god rolls. And like on heroic difficulty nowadays, you actually get a chance for exotics to drop anywhere in the mission. So that's going to do it for the video. Let me know your thoughts and stuff in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.